Your event's starting. And we're live! Hello and welcome to the Snappy-Tech podcast, episode number 22. It is Sunday, the 3rd of December. Does that make it Christmas time yet? Or is there a bit later? We'll discuss that in this podcast, I guess. I guess that's what we're going to do today. However, first, we have the wonderful Paul Stubbers. Hello! That's the nicest I've ever been to you. That's the nicest I've ever been to you. Yeah, that too. I was just going to say like in a podcast, but sure, that too. Oh man. So, just for the record, before you complain about how dark it is, it's 11 p.m. over here, I'll have you know. Like, you can jog on, mate. So we have a bunch of tech topics. We're slightly more organized than we were last week. I have to say, last week's podcast was a lot of fun. However, I do want to mention a few of the changes right now. First of all, you'll notice that the gap between me and Paul is slightly smaller than it usually is. That's because I've made... No, don't that. It's because... It's because I've made our windows slightly larger. I was going to do the same with a text below, not below our name, but below that. That'll be coming probably for next week's podcast. I just want to clean everything up a little. I did it with the logo as well, so the logo is slightly larger, as is the title text above us. I'll do it with the links below. I'll probably add a third one as well, because there's currently 2. So I'll probably make it free, Facebook, Twitter, and then my Snapchat, because that's where I've been doing all of my vlogging. I've been doing so much vlogging. Second of all, outside of all of that, you'll notice I've got a new pop filter. This isn't actually mine. It belongs to Borjomi TV. This is the Georgian letter for B, fun fact. My pop filter is right here. That was a bit loud. Oh, I apologize to everyone. It's not because this doesn't work. It's because this one has a massive Borjomi TV logo on it, and I'm currently in a Borjomi TV station, so I felt like I owed them a little bit of free advertising. I will be honest. Also, I quite like it. Oh, have you figured out a sponsor? Cool. I should mention I've been watching a lot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine lately, so if I say the word cool a bunch of times, blame what's his face? Adam Sandler. Not Sandler. Wait, what's his name? Oh, I've forgotten his name. The guy he's from bloody The Lonely Island. Andy Samberg. That's one. Is that it? That is it. No, the band. Before Syndicate. We're talking about OG. This is OG YouTube right here. Oh man. So, however, how are you guys? Let us know in the comments. I am currently tethering this off of my mobile, so if I die at some point, blame Paul. Yeah, just blame Paul in general for really anything, I'll be honest. If it happens, it's Paul's fault. Yeah, actually, that's a fair point. Today, it's all Emily's fault. So, Paul, tell me, how's your week been? While I sip at my coffee, because it's 11 p.m. and I need to be on a live stream for the next hour and a half. What? Mm-hmm. I have a question for you. You've been moving for the last month and a half. When are you moving? Is it next week, like it has been for the last month and a half? Right. Mm-hmm. Useful, useful. Use. Wow, that is. You know, moving house is one of those things where, like, in theory, it should be really simple, right? You give someone some money and then you move into the place, right? Yeah, and you pay other people to do the work. Yet, it's such a complicated process. Well, that's fun. However, I have he's completely like you can't hear him at all. Sorry, give me a second, Paul. Apparently you're muted. However, you're definitely coming through. Let me just check. Oh, you are what? That's really weird. Hang on. Give me 2 seconds. A, yes. B, this is really weird because OBS is saying it's picking you up just fine. This is really bizarre. Give me 2 seconds. Let me see if I can fix this. I apologize for the technical difficulties. But Paul was silent. Yeah, Paul has been silent. Okay. Well, it's a good... Swadine, thanks for picking that up. But that is really bizarre because Skype is picking you up properly. And so is OBS. And if I go into my... Hang on, let me do this. Playback devices. Yep, it's only my speakers. Paul, can you say something real quick? Okay, cool. Are you? Hang on. This is really odd. I'm not sure why they can't hear you. Let me call you back. Hang on. This is really odd. Sorry, guys, for the technical difficulties. Right. And what I'll also do is I will switch sources to one that doesn't have desktop audio and then back again. So, according to this, you're louder than I am as far as OBS is concerned. It's like, why is Paul so loud? Hang on. So I'm just waiting for the live stream to catch up to where I am in real life. Hang on. I am so confused. I have no idea why they can't hear you. If you're watching this on the post stream, by the way, if you're watching this after it's recorded, I will have a link in the description for when to skip to after we fix this, providing we do fix this. And if you're watching the audio only version, it's also in the show notes. So go check that out as I fix this right now. This is really bizarre because as far as this is concerned, do you want to speak again? Hang on, I need to... The issue is there's like a 10-second delay, so I need to wait for the delay to hear if they can actually hear you. Come on. George, just get over it. Just check. Come on. Just tell Paul to speak. Come on. Oh man, this is so bizarre. This is my reason my screen's right now, just in case you're wondering. Nope, still muted. My beard has grown a lot. Yes, it has. It is to it's to defend me from the cold. This is they can't hear you at all. Let me quit OBS. Okay, if you're watching the live stream, you won't be able to hear. You will disappear for a second, but we will be back momentarily.
OBS thing.
I really hope it's an OBS thing. We're streaming again, so we're back.
Okay. Hopefully that's.
My beard has grown a lot. Yes, it has. I'm gonna wait for the chat to say something. Can you actually hear us now? My plan is, by the way, Sardine, to cut it after like in a couple of weeks, because well, not to cut it, but to like shorten it in a couple of weeks, because my parents are coming. Is he back? Can you hear him? Paul, can you say something?
Hello. I'm back. Yes.
Yes. Right.
Okay, so
we're gonna have to talk over each other again, so I can turn you down the right amount. I think it's about 5.5 roughly. Oh, I'm really loud all of a sudden. No, I'm not. Okay, if you talk
apparently he's not.
Local. Hang on.
Wait,
Oh, is he not?
Okay, what's going on? Am I not back?
Is he back? Can you hear him? Paul, can you say something?
Hello.
No, they can hear you.
Back.
You're on the stream now. Okay, cool. Whew, and breathe. Right. They can hear you, I believe. So if you just talk over me real quick, so we can do that whole audio check
I'll
thingy.
talk over
Okay, I need to like turn you off.
This
just
is
a
really
touch.
weird.
Or do
It's
I?
really
No, I
hard
think
to
we're
keep
good.
speaking,
Okay, no, I
isn't
need
it?
to. There we are. Cool. I need to turn you down just a touch. Bloom. That is the level of technicality our setup has. So you should be able to hear both Paul and myself. Look, it's the two of us. Let me just fix his webcam here real quick. Where is the Skype?
Okay.
Order. Center. There he is. I'm just going to fix. There we are, so they can see you properly. If we show the screen, we won't be showing it much. Oh, right. Let's try this again, shall we? This is take 2.
I'll do a sum up version this time.
Yeah. Do a shortened version. Just a heads up. Actually, it's no point because you've skipped it at this point. It's 12-ish minutes into the podcast that we're starting again, and this time it's going to work. Paul, you're moving. Explain the sitch.
So we've been moving, like the chain got finished back in August. The people we're moving into, the guy actually started working in.
Wait, you're moving into someone?
The house we're moving into, the people who owned that, the guy is moving down, or is working down in Leicester at the moment, or up in Leicester, should I say, which is a few hours away for people that don't know, which is a trek and a half. So he stays there during the week. So it costs him a B&B each day. So they're really raring to move. But the chain is so useless. It's taking ages. The people behind us, as well as their normal solicitor, they have a lender's solicitor, which just makes it so much harder. Their actual solicitor, though, is useless. It's impossible to get a hold of him or the company for the information you need, or to get them to pass on information. So we keep thinking, oh, yay, we're actually about to move. But then it turns out another query comes through, even though half the time we've actually answered them already. But because the solicitor's so useless, most of the information doesn't actually make its way to the person it's meant to. So we've been saying for weeks, thinking we're going to move next week, then suddenly something comes up, and so now it seems as if we're going to move in January.
The only consolation being that at least they heard you this time.
Yes.
Oh, that is really bizarre. See, OBS was picking you up. Like, OBS was showing you in the mixer, but it wasn't outputting your audio. It was really bizarre.
Don't tell Emily this.
No. OBS worked flawlessly. It was all part of our plan.
Okay, no, we're not using OBS today. We're actually using Game Show. That's the problem.
Yeah. We've been secretly using Game. We're trialing Game Show.
Good thing Emily's not actually on this show, like she was nearly going to be. Yeah.
Emily is with mail. Is that I don't know.
She's with a sheep.
I was gonna say with mail makes it sound like she's like perusing around. However, we have
You've got mail.
All that. However, we have some tech topics to talk about, and we're 15 minutes late on this. Oh, and let's start with sponsorship. Paul, who are our sponsors this week?
So I've been watching a lot of TV this week, and so I mean we're a tech channel. I thought we'd get. I
think we are.
Sponsor.
I hope so.
So it's another series sponsor. Of course, before we've had the Big Bong Theory series sponsor.
We also had lest we forget Luca Shade.
Yeah, Luca Shade. There was also Paulsberg.
Paulsberg was a good one.
So I mean, this is actually something I keep typing in, so I think it must be telling me that this should become a thing.
And the company resonates with you just so well.
Yeah, the company resonates with me, so I keep making this mix up anyway. So I'm actually going to pitch it to the company this week, and it's Huawei 5.0.
How do you? What? Is it like autocorrect? Does like autocorrect assume you mean Huawei?
So of course, like it's just sort of that. If there's not much difference when you think about it, I suppose there is a bit of difference, but I just are so used to typing in Huawei that when I go to type in Hawaii, I automatically put in the U. So it isn't until I get to the second half and realise, wait, I've got to go back now.
That's great. I love our timed sips of our timed mug sips. That was beautiful. I feel like I should have kept mine a bit longer. Huawei 5.0. That's a good one. I now can't say the word Hawaii. That's one.
Yeah, it does feel awkward saying Hawaii.
No. Hawaii. It just feels wrong after saying Huawei
5.0.
Yeah, that sounds so much better. That's really. So I should mention there are people in the TV station. So I mentioned this in the talk show. So if you haven't, that reminds me. If you haven't seen the Snappy Talk podcast, go do that. It's on snpy.tech/TalkYT for Talk YouTube. We now have a talk show. It's every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Depending on how this goes, this show will either be moved to 6 or will be kept at 7. We'll see how this episode goes. However, I highly recommend you go watch that. It was myself and Emily. It was a really good show. It's got nothing to do with tech. We just talk about our lives, whatever's going on, current affairs, and it's not those kinds of affairs, Paul. I saw the look you gave the camera as I said that.
So if you want me to like say any more about the move, then that's something.
Yeah, if you want to hear about
Snappy Talk.
Yeah, if you want to hear more about the move, it'll be on Snappy Talk. We'll probably discuss it at some point. But
and
yeah,
I'll
anything.
Need therapy session after explaining it all.
No, I haven't linked it in the channel section of Snappy-Tech just yet. The entire thing, I've just been so busy this week that I haven't had a chance. I have had a crazy week this week. I mean, I'm currently in a TV station at 11:30 at night, so that is the level. And this is like, I got in at like 7 p.m. because I wanted to do some video editing and to set everything up. So I came in at 7, like expecting this place to be empty, and there were 5 other people in here, which doesn't sound like much, but it's like more or less like 40% of the people who work here. What are you laughing at, Paul?
Well, you got in at 7 and you was expecting it to be empty. There was 5 other people in there, so
no, that doesn't quite work. I'll be honest. Like that's a real stretch.
It worked as you were saying it. I mean, having to repeat it back to you is not as funny. So you're ruining it now. Ruining it now.
We'll see what the audience thinks.
The audience love me. Get M's audience on. They love me.
Oh God, no. So we are now 25 minutes into the start of this podcast. We haven't even talked about tech yet. So Paul, I'll let you pick the first topic.
The first topic. Wait, where is the? Okay.
We have the Google Home Max, Bitcoin, the Tesla Mega Battery, the hottest new smartphone, Google finally banning lock screen ads, and the post from Greg Morris with the title "Big Company Issues Causing Big Software Issues for Apple."
I want to leave the Greg Morris one to last.
Okay.
I think that'd be good.
I just want to say, Greg, if you want someone to aim your hate at, it's Paul, not me. He's the one who chose to make it last. Carry on.
Well, no, because it's the more important note to finish on. So we need once we get to a point where like we've only got so long left, then we go on to that, and then so we can finish on a low note.
Right.
Yeah, again, it's well, we will be shit talking Apple, so it will be a high note.
Yeah, for us it'll be a high note.
So let us. We talk about Tesla a lot, and
Yes,
same
we
with
do.
Google.
It's hard
and
not to,
Google
though. That's the
again.
issue.
Let's actually talk about the smartphone one that isn't even a
Oh
smartphone.
my god, it is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. It is so stupid. It is like, oh my days. Right, let me grab this link. It is like hilariously bad. Now I want to know what these things cost. Do you want to introduce this? Because I feel like it's just too funny.
So, don't you just hate it when you're so bored and addicted to your smartphone that you just have to pick up your smartphone and play with it pointlessly? You don't know what you're doing, yet you still just randomly swipe. Today we have a product just for you.
You do?
It is basically a block of plastic with a bunch of balls in it.
Oh.
So okay, let's
Not to be
not
confused
get-
with a different bunch of balls.
Yes, let's not get annoyed with annoyed. It's confused with some of my previous sponsors actually, because I think a couple of them were not far different. So basically, it is. I presume it's plastic and not metal.
But the phone, the phone is, yes.
So it's this block that's the size of a phone, but rather than a screen, power buttons or anything, on the front there is a row of little beady balls. That's what she said.
So one of them has two rows.
in a row.
Just putting it out there.
Huh?
One of them has 2 rows. Just saying.
Well, most of them have like just a single row, and basically you can just swipe over them, and that's basically it.
It apparently feels just like swiping on a phone, which really makes me ask the question: why don't you just put a sheet of glass? Like, it's not that hard. Just like put a little bit of glass there.
I suppose you're actually doing something though. You're moving an object, so it doesn't feel quite as pointless.
You reckon they're going for the fidget spinner effect?
Yeah, that's got to be what. It's basically.
It's a modern day fidget spinner.
Phone aimed one.
It's a smartphone fidget spinner. That's what it is.
Well, actually, not so much the fidget spinner, but the fidget cube.
It's a smartphone fidget cube. That should be our podcast title: the smartphone fidget cube. Oh man, what I will say is there's a bunch of different configurations, which if you're watching a stream, you'll see them all right now. So the first one is for like, as though you're like swiping on Tinder, I guess. It's like the side-to-side swiping. The second one is for like scrolling up and down Facebook. The third one, I'm not quite sure. Like that's a similar, like that's only one row going across the phone. The fourth one is for like pinch to zoom. So it like goes across the phone from top to bottom. And then the fifth one, it also confuses me. Like I'm not sure what that fifth one is supposed to be. But here's the deal. You can already get a fake smartphone, right? It's called the No Phone. And that is a literal just lump of plastic that costs like $12 or something. And it's designed to be a gag gift. This one
sounds like an Apple device.
Hey, ruffle a mow. Sorry, Greg. Ruffle a mow. The difference being, that thing costs $10 and is a gag gift. This thing is designed by a designer called Clemens Schlinger, which sounds like a gag name. Sorry, Clemens. Just in case that's your actual name. I'm so sorry.
Schillinger. Schillinger?
Oh, maybe is it
Schillinger.
Yeah, Schillinger. So
Austrian guy.
Clemens Schillinger designed this thing. And he's a designer, right? He I guarantee you he's going to sell these for like £100. Like, these are not going to be cheap. And
so basically he's going to do an Apple.
Basically,
Take something useless and charge bomb.
Here's my question. Because this device is, like, so bad. First up. Second up. My question is are people craving the action of swiping, or are they maybe craving the apps on their device that have been designed to be addictive and to leave you wanting to come back, like Facebook maybe and Twitter, and the little hit of dopamine you get every time someone likes your Facebook post? Is that maybe it, as opposed to just the act of idly swiping on your brick of glass? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've got to admit the idea that they're going for, that some people just idly pick up their phone, just go on it because they're bored,
and just randomly
go on my phone. And now, like, once I've cleared some of the old apps off, just swiping backwards and forwards.
I am so satisfied right now. Look at me go.
But it is actually more fun for the first 5 minutes of doing that than it is just to come onto my phone once again and be like, what do I do? Snapchat? No, I've got no stories because I've got no friends to post stories.
You have me. I'm constantly posting on Snapchat.
No friends to post stories. Not a story that I would want to see anyway.
That is a bit uncalled for, considering you might be coming out here at some point. Just saying.
But I mean, it is a bit just like, as you say, gag gift. That's the kind of thing that I would see, like a fidget cube. Wait. It kind of makes sense for a $5 or a $10.
I would never buy someone a fidget cube as a gag gift. Let's put that out there real quick.
Yeah, that's not so much a gag gift as this is.
This for about like £10, maybe £15, I'd accept as a gag gift, like to buy for someone. Also, fun fact. Oops, wrong one. Let me try it again. I've dropped the thing for the name banner a touch, so that what fits slightly better. You can see it if you're watching the stream. Paul can't see it right now. I'm going to adjust these properly so they look better. Paul's isn't currently existing, I don't think.
What?
Paul's image is so massive because it's for Skype with 2 people instead of just him. But yeah, so just a heads up, that's also been modified. But yeah, this is it's really bizarre. Like I feel like I can't think of anyone who would legitimately buy one without it being a gag gift. And then if it is a gag gift, no one's gonna buy it for like £100.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where if they sold it, or like you could buy in bulk for the same price as fidget cubes or fidget spinners, it'd be the kind of thing they'd hand out of those shows.
Oh, that'd be great. Can you imagine going to like the next Google event and they're like handing out a bunch of dummy phones, right? Because I think
of course Google's ones would have to be in the shape of Pixel.
Well, yeah, obviously, but at that point it becomes a really good gag because I can then see reviewers doing like fake reviews on it as well, like talking about how smooth the scrolling is and stuff like that. Like I can imagine that being a thing. So
it's very quiet sound, brightness is fine.
Hey, Google's PR company, hire us. We've got some good ideas for you. But
okay, we quickly need to get that idea trademarked.
Yeah, we're now gonna beep out that idea so you don't hear it. But yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where it makes a good
idea on Google's platform.
It makes a good cheap gag gift, but if it costs more than £10, I don't see anyone buying it. And even then, it's one of those things you'll use once and then like laugh at and then forget about.
Yeah, as a stocking filler, that would be great. Being this time of year, and that if I could buy like 5 for like 20 quid or something, I'd just give a bunch of people them.
Oh yeah, without
a doubt. See what their reaction was.
And then what I'd also do is stick them in like iPhone boxes, right? Surely, like you stick
it's honestly better than what would be in them otherwise. So. And they could also have a headphone jack.
Low blow.
But what would you prefer? A fake phone with a headphone jack or an iPhone?
Low blow. Oh wait, I just found a GIF on their website of someone like fake using them. Hang on, wait. I need to pull these up, full screen them. This is apparently what using them looks like. Oh, this is hilarious. Oh, this is great. I love it. I need these in my life. These have convinced me that I was wrong all this time. They haven't. That's a complete lie. They haven't convinced me of anything.
Wait, did you go on Apple's site or the other site?
Oh, no, I went on the other site.
Okay, I was going to say, I mean...
Wait, the back is actually... Oh, hang on, wait, but Paul...
That looks erotic, frankly.
But Paul, they can justify their price now. Because the back has like a sheet of metal on it. So now it has to cost £150. They just can't afford to make it any cheaper. I love how I feel like we need to read out this probably really pretentious sounding statement, which is in this really annoying font that you can barely read. Does the following statement sound familiar? You are sitting in the metro and you're grabbing your smartphone at the first sign of boredom, or because the person next to you just received a message. The shape of a substitute phone replicates an average smartphone. However, its functions are reduced to the movements we make hundreds of times on a daily basis. The stone beads which are incorporated in the body let you scroll, zoom, and swipe. There are no digital functions. The object, which some of us describe as a prosthesis, which some of us describe as a prosthesis, is reduced to nothing but the motions. This calming limitation offers help for smartphone addicts to cope with withdrawal symptoms. The object.
I know you've been in speaking Georgia for a week. But...
oh man, my English skills have really deteriorated. We're gonna get to make the podcast 3 months from now, and I just won't know English. The object is a therapeutic approach. These sentences don't make... The last two sentences don't make sense. Also, they misspelt the word "the." They put 2 E's in it. Why should we trust this guy with a device, is what I want to know. Who decided trusting this guy was a good idea? He can't spell the word "the." Just saying.
Also, if it's meant to feel like a phone, when they said the average smartphone, well, the thing is, it's still not going to feel like your smartphone or anywhere near your smartphone, most likely, because smartphones are still quite different. I mean, most are copying iPhone at this point, but still. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, if it's meant to feel like your phone, does it have weighting inside? Is it heavy enough? Because
I'm assuming that's why the back's plastic. Why the black's metal. The back is metal.
Even then,
but if it's solid, if it's
heavier than just a block of plastic, because
but if it's all metal, like the middle is all metal, I think it'd be about the same weight. Also, why didn't they just make it out of metal? Is my question at this point. If it is 80% metal on the inside, why is the outside plastic? Why not make that metal as well at that point? But I'm not one to judge.
Because
have you guys read
Irresistible
by Adam
so
Alter? You should. He talks about this. I haven't, but I will add that to my reading list.
I don't read, so tell me about it.
Hang on, let me pull it up. Hang on. There we are.
Well, I'm guessing they don't quote any Snappy-Tech material in that book.
Probably not. No. I recognize this image. Greg, did you mention it on one of your podcasts? Because I've definitely seen this before. Irresistible: The Rise of Addictive Technology and the Business of Keeping Us Hooked. Greg highly recommends this book. I think I saw a bit of it. I feel like I saw it at some point. The cover definitely looks familiar. And if Greg recommends it, I'm sure it's great.
He also recommends iPhone.
Oof, low blow. Greg, you need to be on here to defend yourself, man. This is proof if you ever needed it. But every time I tweet out about the Bring Your Own Device podcast, I genuinely do listen to it. I feel like we should do an episode where we just discuss. I say we. It will be an episode where I just discuss because I'm sure you don't. The podcasts I watch, or listen to, I should say, because I have a whole list of podcasts that most of them are, weekly ones. So I have, here we are, this is my list of This is my list of podcasts, and you'll notice that on the very top is the Bring Your Own Device podcast. So
which you just added there.
There is one new episode, actually. I haven't listened to the one that came out 2 days ago. It came out on Friday, and I was going to listen to it, and then I saw the description. I was like, I'm going to savor this. I'm going to leave this for when I'm feeling a little bit down. Because the description reads, Greg is sick at the watch bossing him about even when he is feeling ill. And I'm like, he might go on a mini rant about Apple. I need to hear this when I'm in a kind of bad mood.
Okay, so my first episode I'm listening to is this one.
Oh, man.
So I just don't... It's not that I don't get the time to listen or watch podcasts. It's more of a case of I don't have the attention span to watch most.
I prefer it to music. Especially when I need to pass time. I find it better than music.
I probably should, but at the same point, I just like music. It's just... Yeah.
It's a difficult
I'll
one.
start with the Bring Your Own...
Start with a Bring Your Own Device podcast. It's byodpodcast.com, I believe. I really hope it is. byodpodcast.com. Please be it, please be it, please be it, please be it. It is! I got it! Oh, thank God. So go to hang on,
all the devices.
Oh, thank God for that one. That would have been really embarrassing. So go to byodpodcast.com. Go download it. It's a great listen. Podcast.
That's what I'm going to refer to it from now on. Okay, so everyone watch
Greg might kill us. Don't do that. But yeah, I've been listening to this along with Twit. What else do I listen to?
Along with Puka and
I don't know what that is. Oh, PKA. Right? Yeah. That took me a second. PKA is not a PG podcast. That is not the kind of thing you listen to if you want someone to. We have a Snappy-Tech podcast because I keep tabs on it just in case. Twit, what's that? The WAN Show. I haven't really listened to lately. Hello Internet is really good. That's a nice intelligent listening podcast. It's got a CPG or CGP. I never get it right. I think it's CGP Grey, and then the guy who does number file. I've forgotten his name. Wait, hang on.
Jeff.
I follow him on Snapchat and everything. I'm usually
Jeff.
I'm hang on, wait, let me.
Please say it's Jeff.
Brady something. Hang on. Brady Harron. That's
Jeff.
the one. He's no.
Brady Jeff.
There's no Jeff. There's no Jeff.
Where's Jeff coming to this?
There is no Jeff. And then there's
must be a Jeff.
And then there's also DuckTales, which is Owen JJ Stone's podcast. Highly suggest you listen to that. That guy is hilarious. It's not a very frequently posted. It's not there's a new episode every week. It's very occasional. But they are so good. Owen JJ Stone is my favorite person who turns up on Twit every now and again. So I highly suggest you listen to that. That guy is hilarious. He is really funny. Greg in the chat says it's a whole episode of them moaning about all of their devices. So this is great. I'm going to wait until I'm having a really miserable day and then listen to that podcast. It's going to make my day so much better. It's going to make me so happy.
You know what would really cheer you up?
What?
Watching Jeff's podcast.
Oh my God. Oh. The worst part is I fell for it straight, instant. I was like, he's going to have a genuine answer for this question. And then he just didn't. That is so much worse than you just coming out with a joke straight away.
Actually, no, I've got a genuine answer. What you should really...
Oh, do you really?
If you are bored, what you should watch is my new series, Huawei 5.0.
Yes, you should. Brought to you by Huawei 5.0. man. Wait, what we were mentioned in the latest? Oh no! Oh, this is great. I love it. This is even better. Apparently, we were mentioned
When
in the
you
latest
say
BYOD.
you, do you mean both of us, or
I assume
him, or the show?
Yeah, I'm going to assume he means the show. I've
Wait, I
gotten
need to
I've gotten to the
my
point where like when someone says you during the live stream, they mean like the show as opposed to me specifically.
It depends whose fans are here. If it's Em's fans, it's usually me.
True. Actually, if it's you, they tend to mention you by name, though. To be fair.
Oh yeah, they say Stubbers.
Yeah.
Or Panda guy.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god, I can't believe that was like.
Where's Panda?
Oh, that was horrible. Oh, don't get the Oh no, what have you done? You've condemned us all.
I need to get him paid properly.
Should we actually talk about tech at some point? Like, should we talk about some real tech eventually? Because we've covered one article and there was zero tech in it.
So today's podcast is Snappy-Talk.
Wait. Paul, I just want you to just look in the chat. Greg just said, "Why would I mention Paul?" This right here. I just want to. I've been asked on multiple occasions why we don't pre-record these episodes, because, we wouldn't have issues like the audio issues we had at the start of this, or the internet issues we had near the end of the previous episode. The reason for that is because we get this feedback, and it's just so much, it's just so great. Like, I love chatting with the chat. It's great. Oh man, Paul's about to destroy an iPad, and it's all Greg's fault. This is great. Oh man, I love this.
No, you know who really destroys the iPad?
Apple.
Not a joke. It was a genuine question.
Oh man,
philosophical.
This is too good. This is too good. Just leave a Panda on. Talks more sense.
Damn it! I thought this chair went lower.
Oh, this is great. I love it. Greg, you should have like an IRC running as you record your podcasts. You should have it live somewhere and record and have a live chat. This is too good.
I haven't
iOS 11. That's also a good point.
So, Greg, I want to talk to you about a business proposal I have.
No. You haven't come up with another fake ad, have you?
No. So,
okay, go for it.
I'm thinking of a really good segment for your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's a segment called Tech with Panda.
Okay, carry on.
Panda comes on,
mm-hmm.
and he talks about tech for a while.
Right.
He doesn't talk about Apple tech though, so that's the important improvement to your show.
Right. Carry on.
But if he talks more sense than me, then he must talk absolute gold. So that's the important thing here. That's it's good stuff.
What I do want to say is, like, this is all Greg's fault. This is like the second time that Greg has like incited violence on the Snappy-Tech podcast. Like, the last time this happened, there was like a scramble 5 minutes before the show was due to start to like get him on. Like, it's been a real. It's like, don't look at me being like George keeps calls. Like, here's the deal. I host the podcast, right? So it tends to fall back on me, right? That everyone's like, oh, I can't believe George let this happen. None of this is my fault. None of this is on me. This is all Paul and Greg having fights
me and Greg
outside of a
we
podcast.
Have no problems. It's George that keeps telling us, come on, we get more views if there's drama.
This time next week, Paul's going to be dropping a diss track on Greg. Just saying. That's what we need. We need diss tracks.
No, we don't.
Greg's mic is... I am this close to actually calling him to get him on the podcast. I might actually do it. Greg, do you want to actually come on? Because this would be hilarious. This would be like next level live interaction.
Actually, what? We need to get Greg to talk on about the topic that we've got later.
That's a fair point. We should probably get you on
is.
anyway. That's not too bad an idea. So Greg,
Considering the last
I
topic
can't
is
believe
his.
I can't believe this is actually a thing that's happening right now.
Get into Photoshop quick.
I am literally in Photoshop right now.
Okay, where's Keemstar? We need a story about
we need
this.
Killer Keemstar. Let's get right into the news. How the hell that guy is just, oh man. He is I hate that guy.
That guy pissed me off so much.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you talked about a lot of people, I'm kind of like, well, I'm presuming this is a bunch of overly dramatized rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
But a few times he's done it, when he's done it about like Syndicate or people where I'd been following the story before he'd done anything.
All right,
so
Paul, hang on. Before you carry on, I'm sorry. Before you carry on, I have to call Greg. Give me 2. I'm actually adding Greg to this Skype call right now. Also, my webcam seems to have frozen. I will fix that momentarily. Hang on. Let me fix my webcam first. There we are. I should be back, I think. Am I? Nope. Hang on. The issue is I use KVY cam as a webcam splitter. There we are. So that I can have Skype showing my video and thingy at the same time. So if you're watching the stream right now, you can't see anything because I have gotten rid of a screen so that Greg can be added without me accidentally revealing his Skype name. Oh, this is so good. This is so fun. I can't believe this is happening. I'm in. Oh, he hasn't answered. Oh, he's not online. Greg, get on Skype, damn it.
Whilst we're doing this, I'm actually doing the iOS 11 update.
Oh no!
Oh,
don't do that.
11.2.
Wait, hang on. Let me bring him back. So, hang on.
What version have I actually got right now?
Okay, I think I'm good to call Greg without accidentally revealing his details.
So I've currently got 10.3.3. So I'm doing the 11.2 update.
Greg, get on Skype, damn it! I can't believe this is happening right now. This right here is why I love doing a live podcast. Like, it's just when we did that 6-hour live, which if you haven't seen, by the way, we did a 6-hour live stream on Twitch. It's only going to be up there for another 2 days. So go to twitch.tv/Snappy-Tech, all one word. Go watch the 6 hours of live stream we did. It was so much fun. I highly recommend you go watch it. Paul, you look a bit off center right now. It's because we're waiting for Greg
You're a bit off center.
I was going to say it's because we're waiting for Greg to turn up. It's not your webcam. I meant like on the stream. You look fine. No, Paul, what are you doing? You monster. What have you done? Oh, man. I'm waiting to get a little Skype notification to say that Greg's here. And then we'll call him again. I can't believe this is happening right now. Of all the things I expected this episode, this is not one of them. Oh, Greg's here.
What up?
Hey! Right, let me switch up the thing. Right, Greg, we're waiting.
Let me just make sure I'm out of frame quickly.
Greg,
it's all right. Leave the panda in.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm doing. I'm literally having the Panda as my webcam.
right, Greg, we need you to turn on your webcam, mate.
No, I don't like it.
Oh, that's an issue.
Does it not have a Panda?
Hey!
There we are.
Wait,
Cool.
there we go.
I can put them the right way round because Greg is in Paul's spot right now. So let's do.
That's fine. Leave it like that.
I mean, that would have
you
been
want to be
fine.
called Paul Stubbington?
Except Paul was also in your spot. So.
Oh yeah, please switch him.
Right, there we are. This is why, oh my god, I don't even know what to say right now. Okay, so we now also have the wonderful Greg Morris in one hell of a twist of fate that I was never expecting.
It's your own fault for tweeting at me.
Yes, yeah, probably. So, oh man, we are. How long have we been live? I just want to get that confirmed because I want to say 50 minutes. We've been live for 50 minutes and we haven't spoke a single bit of actual tech news. It's just so good. I love it.
That's normal. I mean, you keep having Paul on, so I mean, 50 minutes not talking any sense whatsoever is like normal. Surely, I've listened to the podcast before. I know how this works.
You've been on the podcast with me before.
Yeah, I know. It was the best episode ever.
Oh man.
I was searching around for stuff that I could annoy Paul with, so I just thought, what can I wear? I know, Beats headphones.
Oh no, you're wearing Beats headphones. Oh no.
I don't know. Right now, I'm wearing Razer headphones, so at least Beats don't sound terrible.
I feel like
Razer headphones do.
I feel like the only
These ones
consolation
don't
for you, Paul, is you didn't pay for them. So
Yeah, I didn't pay they cost 80 quid if I want to buy these. Yet they sound. I actually got a pair of 8 quid earphones by some random brand, Dodo Cool. It was on a lightning deal the other week, and they sound really good. So much better than these, despite the fact they were 10 times less.
quality.
Yes.
So should we actually talk about tech at some point, like right now?
Talk about Panda.
I suppose so.
I guess, to be fair, as far as Greg is concerned, this is like, I've been on for 2 minutes. What do you mean? Let's dive right into tech. Like, you know.
Yeah, this is like an
Swardine
intro.
has a point,
for me.
actually.
I should point out the guy on the far end this way, right? If you hop over Paul, is the wonderful Greg Morris. Go follow him on Twitter at gr36. BYODpodcast.com. We'll get him to shout out his socials in like 20 minutes
To be
when we get to
fair,
the end of the podcast.
I think you've been plugging my podcast for more airtime than you have your own.
You know why? The issue is I've been plugging your podcast after I listen to an episode. So I'll listen to an episode and I'll be like, that was really good. I'll go plug his podcast. And then every time I plug mine, I get really self-conscious because I don't want my Twitter feed to be just me plugging my podcast. So I'll plug it like once or twice. And then I'm like, okay, no, I'm done. No more.
We actually had a really good episode, not the last one, the one before, with underscore inside.
Yes.
Guy Rambo. We talked about the HomePod leaks, the GM leaks, and all that sort of stuff. It was although I was very quiet through it because all that sort of stuff goes well over my head. I felt like I was Paul for like a whole episode. It was really interesting.
Sorry, at the moment, because you're speaking, my panda's decided to take up alcoholism. At some point today, I should probably move back the webcam. However, at the moment, this is far more entertaining.
I should mention, I was actually planning on live tweeting myself listening to the podcast because I was on the plane and I was like, all of these tweets will go out at the same time once I get internet connection. So I might just like tweet as I listen to the podcast on this plane and just like wait for them all to go out at once. And I got about 5 tweets in. And then I was like, I think Greg might hate me for the like sheer number of like, George mentioned you in a tweet. George mentioned you in a tweet. George mentioned you in a tweet. And I was like,
it's better all in one.
I'm not going to do it.
Well, you could have done, it could have been one of those times where it comes through one, then another, rather than just all in one. Because like the other week when I was going through liking, then retweeting a bunch of stuff, and all your phone was doing was like Paul's like this, Paul's retweeted this, Paul's like this, Paul's retweeted this. Someone's mentioned you, someone's liked what you was mentioned in.
Oh, that was a real pain. Like it was because it was on TweetDeck, and I had to mute the tab because I'd like put Windows in quiet mode, which it still is in right now actually, because I usually don't take it out of quiet mode, which means that any Windows notifications are muted, but it's a Chrome notification, so they're not muted. And it was just like, God damn it. So everyone was like, retweeting and liking a bunch of tweets, which, by the way, really good, guys. Thank you for that. It was highly appreciated. Apart from all the notifications, whilst I was trying to produce a clean episode of a podcast, but wasn't littered in notification noises.
And I started going through your timeline and liking everything to spam you.
And but the issue I have is, as much as I want to be active on Twitter right now, the finale of Robot Wars is just starting, and I know people are going to be tweeting about it, and I don't want to look because I want to know what happens without having it spoiled. So if you want me to see your tweet, you'll have to @ me, or else I'm just ignoring the gen pop of Twitter. I'm just looking at my notifications.
I might go online, find out the result, and just spoil it, right?
Don't you dare! I will hate you. I will hate you forever. Greg can do it. He's a guest. That's fine. I'll only hate him internally.
Right.
But Paul, if you do it,
Greg,
Robot was winner.
Greg, he already hates me. Let me do it.
Oh man.
How is this?
Right. Let's talk about some tech news because we are almost an hour into this. And oh man, it's been one of the funniest, but it's been one of the least productive. I can't help but feel like that's a real trend developing. However, what I will mention,
I can't find it. I've given up.
What I will say is, to Swardine real quick, he did actually wear AirPods. Greg did wear AirPods for the first 2 episodes he was on. So he's not a stranger to AirPods. Just putting that out there. Although one of them did die, like the first time we had him on,
The first episode, yeah.
It was just me and Greg.
They did.
And they died literally like 2 minutes after we finished recording. And that was hilarious. Oh man, so guys, let's talk HomePod. Not HomePod, but Google Home Max. We can also talk HomePod, because they're basically the same thing if we're really honest with ourselves. Just one of them has a Google internal and the other has Apple. The Apple HomePod was delayed, as we found out just after the episode of BYOD podcast like 2 weeks ago. I was listening to it having just found out that it had been delayed, and those two were talking about it, and I was like, interesting. But apparently, the Google Home Max will release on December 11th, which is bizarre because there's been zero promotion around it, and it's now exactly a week away. However, Google did say it released in 2017. Maybe? I don't know. However, my question is, this and the HomePod. Now, they seem to be taking 2 very different routes. The HomePod is, in my opinion at least, designed to be speaker first, smart second. And I think the capabilities of Siri limit that partially to being that. But also, it was supposedly initially designed to be an accessory for your iOS device. Like it was designed as an accessory to an iPhone. However, the HomePod is I keep calling it a HomePod. The Home Max is very much a standalone device that doesn't require you to have a smartphone to control at all. Do you reckon either of them have what it takes to be successful? Because I personally, I don't think they do. Let's start with Greg, because he actually knows tech.
Kaboom!
Well, he knows tech, yet he chose to go Apple.
Yeah, I did.
Not for long, apparently.
Choice. Yeah, not for long. But that's a different story altogether. I don't know. I'm still on the fence about voice only stuff. I set up my Lady in the Can to work with my Sonos speakers the other day, and I've used it 4 times. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I think there's definitely a situation where these things become in handy, but it's difficult to know whether these things will take over outside of like real nerds. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe Android users, you probably stand a better chance with them. But I'm really unsure whether. I suppose if anybody's going to do it, Amazon stand the best chance. I mean, it's plastered all over TV. They keep coming out with a different Alexa device every week. It seems like, to do different things and various levels of creepiness. So,
because who doesn't want a camera in their bedroom always on and connected to the internet?
Yeah, that was crazy. They released that.
That's been delayed. I should mention the Spot has been delayed.
Has it?
Yes, it's been delayed.
Yeah, they released that like outfit thing. What was it?
Yes, the look.
View or something.
Or the show.
Was like,
one of them.
God damn, that's creepy. And then they released that Spot thing, and they were like, yeah, it's kind of creepy, but it looks quite cute. I'd like it next to my bedside table, please.
You can use it. God. It's round, so you can use it as a clock. Like, that was the justification.
I think these sort of devices are just like, let's see how far we can push things and then just go back a little bit. I mean, Amazon want their delivery drivers to be able to unlock your house and leave your packages inside, for God's sake.
Oh, God.
I mean, who doesn't want an always listening device in their house? But apparently we're all right with that.
Apparently so. The thing that I find, and before I let you go on with Paul, what I will say is I think, you've mentioned using yours 4 times. I had a Amazon Echo, the OG Echo, and then I had a Google Home, and I find myself using it 2 to 3 times a day, for like my daily briefing, and then I'd use it for like maybe some weather or some miscellaneous question throughout the day. And for £100, which is what I paid, or I paid £80 actually for the Google Home. For that price, it was worth it. That was fair enough. Occasionally I'll play music on it. It's in the kitchen. If we have guests over, we'll play some dinner party music, whatever. But the Google Home Max has a completely different use case. That is designed to be your central audio system, along with the Apple HomePod. And I think the smarts in that don't justify the price it will have at whatever it is, like £400 or whatever ridiculous price tag they put on it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Go ahead, Paul. Come on. Let's have some.
I think actually what you were saying about with the smartness inside a massive speaker is kind of a bit. Do we need this, especially at that price? Of course, you can easily wire them up. Even the new Echo, you can just wire up to a speaker system. Do we need that? It's going to take up a bunch of extra space and all that. It's a bit like they're trying to merge 2 industries that I don't think can merge too easily. But it's... As you say, you use the device a few times a day. So the Echo Dot makes a lot of sense. At £30, you can get it quite often. Oh, sorry, 35 or usually 50. Same with the Home Mini.
Yeah.
It makes sense. They're quite often on offer. So you're not spending lots of money. But when you do get above £100, it starts to become a bit tighter for people other than nerds that are going to make use of it a lot. And especially if it does end up at probably more of a $200 price range, it just becomes a bit of... I can't even think of the word. It's trying to get into another industry or add Alexa or Google Home into another industry that it doesn't need to be in. You can just add the minis to speakers that are actually leading. There's a word that I want to use, but I can't remember what the fuck it is.
That's what you call unnecessary swearing. Just out of nowhere.
But is it unnecessary? It's really...
What I will say is there's actually a wait list for Home Max right now. It is $399 USD. It's not outside of North America right now. Reviews actually came out for it a couple of days ago. So the 11th of December time seems more and more reasonable.
Well, hey, at least they shipped it.
Yeah. $399 for the Home Max. $349 for the HomePod, so they're more or less the same price, I guess. If I feel like if you were planning on buying one or the other, I feel like the price wouldn't be the thing that would break it at that point, right? The fact that one of them is delayed until next year might, but the price won't. And also, I feel like the HomePod is more just a speaker than the Home Max.
I mean, Bloomberg, they wrote about the kind of journey of the HomePod, and it's been like canned and like brought back to life several times. And I think that they said that it was originally going to be just a speaker that works with AirPlay 2, which we don't really know whether it's ready to ship or what it actually does, and in some very un-Apple-like, they're kind of half-assed, sort of telling you bits and pieces about it. I mean, the price and stuff, like you say, is not really an issue, but the Google Home stuff is definitely going to be far more intelligent just by putting a Google Assistant inside it. I mean, they only today, a few days ago, said that you can answer like multiple questions about stuff in the same sort of command now. So Apple seem to be limiting Siri to do different things on different devices, and Google are just like, no, everybody can have the assistant. It needs to be everywhere. And that's, I presume that's why they're trying to push into the market of more expensive and better sounding speakers as well, because I mean, it's just all about the data, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that Apple were probably never going to try to really compete in the smart home assistant market, because it's not an uncommon factor that Siri isn't up with Google Assistant or Alexa at this point. And let's face it, when do Apple go for cheap? They're going to go all out. So the fact that they're going for something with more of just amazing premium audio that's going to cost a bunch, but you're going to use more as a speaker or as a music box rather than assistant, doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, they tried to kind of argue before the fact, saying that like, oh, it's more important that you have Siri with you everywhere, and obviously they put a speaker in the Apple Watch and tried to kind of argue it for a while. And I think maybe the market just demanded that they get into that sort of thing because everybody else is, and let's be honest, both those and Google were probably a year or so late. Amazon always had the market sort of tied up to themselves. And the Bloomberg article will certainly support that. I think they probably intended the HomePod to be just a speaker where you tell it what to say, and they kind of just scrambled and got, oh my God, we're going to have to put Siri in this thing. A friend of mine that worked for Apple showed me a demo device not long after they showed it at WWDC. And it wasn't clear what it was supposed to do, and it still very, very much felt like nobody did. And it was just kind of like a Siri kind of screen-ish thing taped on the top of a speaker. And I think that's pretty much what it feels like now.
Yeah, I think a bit of a panic is a bit of a key word here. Because I think they realised how late they were to the party and realised that they needed to get something out. Probably looked at what there was around at the time. And until the past few months, a more premium speaker package wasn't around. So Apple probably realised, crap, we can't compete with Alexa. And now, shut up, Alexa. It's picking me up.
Yeah, I feel like I should mention, just going forward, I feel like we should refer to the Google Assistant as the Google Assistant, right? Because I feel like that's a hard one to trigger. Siri is also a hard one to trigger accidentally. If you want to talk about Amazon's voice service, refer to it as Echo, and that's, you know, you won't trigger. You won't accidentally trigger someone.
Some people have it set up as Echo for that reason.
If they do, that's their own fault. Just saying.
Yeah. But, Apple probably realised we can't catch up with Echo or try and compete properly with Echo at this point, or Echo Dot, and same with then, of course, the original Google Home, then the Google Home Mini. So they probably just thought, what can we compete with here, or what can we put out that doesn't leave us 2 years behind the competition? Not that they're not used to 2 years behind the competition.
That's true. Yep.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
If anyone can play catch up,
speaking
it's
kindly,
Apple.
Really, isn't it?
Yeah. If anyone can play catch up, it's Apple, because if they put something out, people are going to buy it, whether they should or not. The people are going to buy it, and occasionally you can't compete with Amazon and Google. It's
They're no
tough.
slouches.
Yeah, they can certainly throw punches at the biggest.
Yeah, I mean, Apple. You're right in what you're saying. I mean, Apple could have put out like a turd with Siri on top of it, and some Apple users will still buy it, won't they? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think you're definitely right. They kind of just went, oh crap, we're going to have to put out one of these speakers. Has anybody got anything around here that we were working on before? That'll do. Stick Siri on the top of that, and let's at least attempt to ship it. And with the bugs in iOS 11 and Mac OS, it just means what the hell was wrong with the HomePod? I mean, that must have just like caught fire or something. Because
you know what? I wouldn't put it past them. I'll be honest. That it's difficult because you want to give Apple the benefit of a doubt in the sense that hate on them for having late hardware all you want, right? For being 2 years behind for competition, whatever. The fact is, 99% of the time they'd set a date and then they deliver on said date.
Yeah,
it was very rare for them to be late on anything, and we're in a scenario where they're giving more and more vague timelines, right? Mm-hmm. They said, HomePod some point in late 2017, or I think they said December 2017. I might have said the iMac Pro at some point 2018. The new Mac Pro that's fully modular at some point in the next year or two. They're giving these sort of vague timelines in an attempt to give themselves more time to work on these products at this point.
It's damage control, isn't it? It's kind of just going, look, we are working on it, but we don't really know when. Look at this stuff over here instead. Buy an iPhone here.
Look how shiny it is.
Yes.
This isn't something Apple usually do. They
no.
Like from my experience with them, once they've got a product and it's finished, they then say, "Look, this is our shiny new product. Do a big launch thing, and then release it a few weeks later." Generally, so for them now saying we've got this HomePod to compete with Echo and Google and We've got this Home Assistant. We've got this new computer coming out next year. But yeah, we're just going to give you a vague timeline. We've not actually completed it yet. But yeah, this is what we're doing. It does seem like, as you say, just buying themselves a bit of time, but making people realise, yes, don't go buy this yet. Look, we've actually got something coming. And even if it turns out to be a complete turd, then everyone's going to have waited for it so long, they'll just buy it anyway, frankly.
Yeah.
And is it damage limitation in the sense that, when the original iPhone came out, there was no denying that it was very much unique. Whereas now, every day that went by without them announcing a HomePod was a day that someone else would have bought an Amazon Echo or a Google Home. So they knew that if they didn't announce it, they were losing customers to competitors. So they had to at least say they were working on it, or else people were going, well, maybe Apple will never release one, and buying elsewhere.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, because I mean, generally you see with consumers, if they want to wait for a product, they will say, well, like Apple are releasing this, I'm going to wait for that. There's no point me wasting my money until I know that that's going to be a bunch of crap. Yeah, maybe I'll go elsewhere eventually, but want to see what that pans out. And I think that's what they're doing, just getting the idea that we are bringing something out, don't buy something else into people's heads, because people will otherwise have went elsewhere by now, especially with Black Friday deals. They were bloody great.
They were crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we're not far away realistically from them going, right, if you get Prime, you get a Echo Dot, are we? We're almost within touching distance of them just giving them away in a box of cereals, aren't we, for the price point that they are.
And it's especially once with their dash
if they have to
buttons
clear
as well.
stock. Yeah.
Right, they give those away. Like they cost £5, but the first time you use it, they give you £5 off. So they're essentially giving those away.
And And quite often they do like 2 or 3 quid off, but yet you like off the button itself, but you still get the £5 off your first purchase with it.
So you actually gain money.
Yeah, sadly not as much as the product you're buying,
Hack
so you
the
don't
system.
get the product itself for free, but
But I should have just started buying a bunch of like Amazon Dash buttons and just like clicking each one once and then like returning them. Make all of the money.
somehow I think Amazon would sort of cotton onto that quite quickly.
Yeah, I assume they
Charge
have
you
some
for
form
it.
of defense mechanism.
Yeah,
I hope
they
they do.
they must have realized. Yeah, I'd hope a company as big as Amazon realized, unless they were kind of just sort of kind of like anyone that's smart enough to do this. Props to them, like that they can have the money. We have enough of our own.
Well, that's what they do with a lot of their returns, right? If you like, or if you have like a delivery issue, they you know, occasionally like my neighbor back when I was in the UK, which you know was a week ago, but whatever. My neighbor in the UK had like he'd bought like some small item that cost like, you know, up to £10, whatever it was, and you know it said that it had been delivered to the neighbor, and he knocked on the neighbor's door, and the neighbor said they didn't have it. And then they knocked on our door. We didn't have it either. So he went to Amazon and said, who's it been delivered to? Both of my neighbors don't have it. What the hell is going on here? And Amazon went, oops, sorry, our bad. We'll send you another one. We'll send you a replacement, whatever. 2 days later, the replacement has already arrived at this point. 2 days later, he gets a knock on his door. Turns out it'd been delivered like 4 doors down. And, you know, the person on the Amazon delivery didn't specify the door number. So he just ended up getting a free product. And, you know, Amazon were okay with it because they ended up with a happy customer. And it was like £10. And then this guy ended up with two of the same thing.
Damn.
Yes, Swadine, he said about he got a free £5 and a month of Prime. Basically, every time, or a bunch of times earlier on in the year, my brother complained to Amazon about delivery issues, it not coming when it said it would. Usually it was coming after he'd left work because it had been meant to be delivered to work. And basically every time they added a month of Prime and gave him a £5. The only issue is they added it to his account. The Prime is shared from my account. So he has Prime till next like July, August. I have Prime till about next May. And it's my Prime. Like
Just like send a just buy something and fake a complaint. Don't actually do that. That was a joke. That's not something you should
not
actually do.
condone such behaviour.
Amazon. Have they? Because I know we did actually complain to them and say you said we'd get this. So like, why is it not?
I had a product arrive 2 days late, and or like 3 days late, I think it was. And I complained like the night it was supposed to arrive, the next day before it had arrived, and then the day it actually arrived before it arrived. So that was 3 times, and all 3 times they added like an extra month of Prime and a £5. So
when my computer, when I got my current CPU, motherboard, cooler and RAM, the reason I had to get it was because my old one was basically unusable. It was maxing out at like 900 megahertz on all cores, so you just couldn't do anything on it.
900 megahertz.
Yeah,
all of that.
About 15 years ago. But so I needed it ASAP, and if I were to be doing like editing for Snappy-Tech or something, it would have been really bad for me to be without a computer for a few days. So the first time they were meant to deliver it, it didn't turn up. So I was like, guys, what's going on? Guy didn't even offer me a month at first until I was like, come on, you've got to give me something. This is just ridiculous. And then he offered me a month. Actually, no, that guy didn't. I said, you've got to offer me something. He's like, sorry, I can't do anything. So, for God's sake. Didn't turn up the day after because he got it to got it resent. Didn't turn up the day it was meant to come again. Then that guy finally gave me a month free, and then it turned up like another day. So it took an extra, I think it was 2 or 3 days to arrive, and I only got 1 month offer, and it's before they kept offering out the £5.
Oh,
It was really sad
so
times.
sad, so sad. I am going to rein us in the direction of the two articles that make up the title of this podcast, because we haven't spoken about either of them. First of all, let's start with
2 more articles.
2 more. Yeah, I feel like we kind of covered the second one, so because we've spoken about Apple, so I think we might be able to get away with that. Ish.
I've spoken a lot about it.
We haven't spoken about Apple until
spoken about the issues.
we haven't spoken about Apple until Greg is satisfied about us having spoken about Apple.
Yes, I demand it. I told you, Paul is a paid shill from Google.
But first,
and George is a round Earth shill as well.
yeah, can you believe it? The Earth is. Oh, actually, I want to quickly mention this. Did you see the tweet between Elon Musk and the Flat Earth Society?
Yes, I did.
That
yes.
was hilarious. It was just in case you missed it, I'm not sure if Paul saw it, but Elon Musk this week tweeted out about why there wasn't a Flat Mars Society. The Flat Earth Society, the actual real life Flat Earth Society, tweeted back at Elon Musk saying that it had been confirmed that Mars was definitely flat. Just putting that out there. We definitely know Mars is flat. Not quite certain.
I thought it was
about Earth,
round,
though.
they said.
Sorry, yes, round. My mistake. Sorry, yeah. Mars is round, but we're not sure about Earth. This is just... What kind of a world have we come? Like, what is this world? And then there was
This is what Apple does to people's brains.
There was actually really, again, digressing really quickly. There was a guy who made a homemade rocket. Did you guys hear about this?
Yes, I saw
the guy
that,
who was
yeah.
planning on flying 1,500 feet into the, which isn't even high enough to see if the Earth is round or not. Just putting that out there as well. This guy built a rocket for $20,000 or something out of scrap metal, and he was going to fly into the sky and check if the Earth is round.
Just to check.
Just to make sure.
I think we should let these guys do it.
Oh,
Yeah,
no, he's going to do it.
And anybody that thinks the Earth is flat, we should just give them enough rocket power to shoot them somewhere and just let them do it.
Just out of our atmosphere.
Okay, go check. Just go check.
Natural selection at work.
Oh, man. So let's talk about Bitcoin. Because it's, oh my God. So I've just went to check on it. And it's hit another record high. So here's the deal. I want to talk about... It's bound to, yeah. But here's what I want to ask. Bitcoin is about as volatile as Paul's emotional well-being. Sorry, I had to put a dig in there. I couldn't help it. I was like, what can our audience relate to? Bitcoin is highly volatile, right? If you're wondering how volatile, it dropped 20% in 24 hours, and then it's now jumped back up to another record high. So it is extremely volatile. So here's my question to you two, and I want to know, kind of seriously, but whatever. At which point did you first hear about Bitcoin? At which point did you first seriously consider investing in Bitcoin? And at which point did you start regretting not investing in Bitcoin sooner?
The first time I heard about Bitcoin was when you could still mine it on an old crappy laptop and just leave it plugged in. The funniest story I was reading earlier on was apparently somewhere in Wales there's a hard drive with £75 million worth of Bitcoin on it because some guy had done exactly that and then thrown the hard drive out or something stupid.
Yes, I think we mentioned this on one of the earlier podcasts. He also then hired a team of people to dig through the landfill that the hard drive had been chucked into to try and find the hard drive, and it was never found. So poor guy. Poor guy.
It was never found.
Yeah.
Some guy has it somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I've never ever considered investing in Bitcoin because of that exact reason. I mean, it could just overnight just go bang and that's it.
I'm expecting
Although
that's what it's
I
gonna
kind of, you do regret it. You just like, oh, there's a few people that I know that was just like, oh, I've sent you a Bitcoin to like one of their friends, and then when it got up to like a serious amount of money, they were like, yeah, you know that Bitcoin that I sent you, could you just kind of send it back because it's kind of worth £1,000 now.
Oh man.
But it would have been the tale of greatness. But like this organizations like Coinbase or whatever it's called, where like just like millions of dollars just disappear because it gets hacked or something happens, something obscurity and stuff. It's one of those things. I mean, people are just like, oh, it's hit a new record. Of course it has, because people keep buying Bitcoin. And then, oh, it dropped 20% overnight. Well, it does, because it gets to like $10,000 and everyone goes, right, that's it, I'm out. And sells it all. Means it's worth less. That's how currency works. But it's all getting a bit silly now, isn't it?
It is worth mentioning it's currently sitting at just under $12,000 per coin. Which is ridiculous. It is crazy. Which actually what makes it even crazier...
So we got 12 grand, we can...
What makes it even crazier is that, like, I remember, like, the big story of, like, the first proper purchase made with Bitcoin, where, like, a pizza place accepted Bitcoin, and some guy spent, like, 800 Bitcoins on one pizza. That guy is probably kicking himself right now.
800 Bitcoins now. Okay, so 800 Bitcoins would currently be worth...
94 million.
9.4.
Oh, sorry, 9.4, yes.
Yeah, $9.4 million.
Is that
That's one expensive pizza?
Yeah, is that would you pay that much for a pizza, Paul?
So you know that 19-inch pizza I got?
Yeah.
So a massive pizza for 12 quid. If you gave me a pizza that was about maybe 240-inch pizza or something, it'd go off by the time I even got through a small part of it, but it would be I'd be so happy seeing it that maybe.
I think the way to do it is you have two options. Either you never have pizza ever again, or you can only buy pizza for $9.4 million. Those are your two options.
I need to get rich.
Yeah, quick. But the volatility is just, every time I look at Bitcoin and I see it's hit another record high, every time I see it, I'm like, the last time it did this, I was like, I should buy some Bitcoin. And then I didn't. And then the last time it happened, I was like, I should have bought some Bitcoin. And then I didn't. And it's just this long list of times where I've been like, oh, I should get some Bitcoin. You never know, right? Because the way to do it isn't to put your life savings into Bitcoin. It's to put in an amount of money that if you lose, is like it
you
sucks.
can afford it, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not making you bankrupt. And I hate myself more and more every day. And like part of me is not investing in Bitcoin at this point just out of spite. Like part of me just wants it to crash and burn at some point just to like prove myself right. Like, yeah, that's
like,
why
I told you.
Yeah. But I don't see that happening anytime soon, and it kind of disheartens me.
Fortunately not. Well, didn't I read somewhere that eventually the blockchain will just kind of end? There's like a mathematical limit.
There is, yes. There's a set number of Bitcoin.
Yeah, that and obviously it's all recorded, the transactions and stuff, and eventually it will just get to its resolution, and then what?
And then it's that's what gives it value. That's the reason. The fact they're not infinite is why they have value. All right, because if I could sort of click my fingers and make 5 more Bitcoins, they'd be worthless. The other issue is people keep losing them, right? So that guy who had however many thousand Bitcoins on a hard drive, they're gone forever now. And that raises Bitcoin's value at least a little. The way to do it, and again, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't listen to go do some proper research. We're talking about tech on a podcast where like 10 minutes ago, Paul's webcam was literally a Panda. go get some proper financial advice. The way to do it...
An alcoholic panda.
An alcoholic panda at that, yeah. The way to do it would be to get a hard token, because that's the way that people are sort of stashing them for long term, right? You buy a bunch of Bitcoin, transfer them onto a hard wallet, as they're called. So they're on a physical thing, and then stick that in like a safety deposit box.
Right. Nice financial advice from George. Right.
No, it's not financial advice. Don't say that.
Support somebody to CA.
So I'm going to contact all my rich friends and tell them to watch this moment. And if they lose money, then I'll tell them where Brazilmi TV station is. Probably could Google it and find it pretty easily.
Oh yeah, it's not that hard.
Not if they waste all their money on your financial advice, though, they might not be able to afford to come to Brazilmi TV station.
That's my plan all along. They can't afford to beat me up.
But I certainly do hate myself occasionally with this, because I've not known about Bitcoin since the start. But once people actually started to hear about it, that was when I found out about it. So it must be at least 5 years I've known about this. It's been around for, I think, 8.
I just want to say, if you'd gotten in 5 years ago, it was worth like a few hundred a Bitcoin. Just saying. Like, you'd have been like 10 times return on your investment. Yeah.
So at the time, it may have even been slightly more than... It may have been... It's about 5-6 years ago. So at the time, mining Bitcoin was very easy. It wasn't too much of an issue. As you say, you could just use an old laptop or whatever. But at the time, I didn't have an old laptop or computer to do it. And because I was still like 13 or 14, I didn't know much about what I was doing, frankly. And of course...
Nothing changes.
Yeah, and so... You could have been speaking to a millionaire right now.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
But I just didn't really have the ability to do it, and most of the time I was kind of like, yeah, I think it's gonna become a big thing. Where at that time people were presuming it was, but weren't quite sure. So if I had actually done it how I was gonna do it, I was gonna sort of just let in mind, see what I could get, and then probably let them sit around for a while, kind of like it's not waste any money or time in mind, so that'd be fine. And right now, rather than being very poor and watching what I'm spending on Black Friday, I could have ordered one of the grand TVs that I saw on Black Friday, because I would probably currently be worth at least
trillions of dollars.
Well, I'd say $500,000, if not millions of dollars right now. As soon as it was getting towards thousands, I would have been tempted to sell them all. However, it depends how much money I wanted at the time and how much I'd have. If I'd had like 1,000 Bitcoin and waited till it got to over 10 grand, then
again, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't do what I say.
We know.
What I would suggest is not cashing it all in. What I would suggest personally, friend to friend, not a financial advisor, really want you to be sure on that part, because I don't want to be blamed for you losing all your money, is, keep it all in Bitcoin and only take it out as and when you need it, right? Because costs occur, right? So... whatever. If you need $1,000 to buy that television, convert $1,000 worth of Bitcoin into money, buy your thing, and then leave the rest untouched. That would have been the way to go about it. Because, you don't need to turn it all into pounds like at once, right?
Yeah, it depends whether you think another 20% or more drop comes. Because there is going to come to a point where a 20% drop comes and stays, if not more than 20%, because it's unlikely that this currency is going to stay this strong forever.
Having said that, we'll come back to this 2 years from now, and it'll be worth like $100,000 a coin, and we'll be looking back at... Oh, hang on, wait. There we
we
are.
go,
My internet's stabilized. I saw like a little hiccup on OBS. We're gonna get to a point where like 2 years from now, Bitcoin will be worth like 100 grand each, and we'll be like we'll all be looking back at this show like we should have just invested. We should have just done it. We should have just done it.
At this point, I think it's going to keep going up. People are starting to invest in it now, which, as Greg says, it may cause it to stabilize and probably drop a bit. However, I think it is going to go up. It's going to keep hitting new highs. And I think it could reach... I'm no financial advisor here. Frankly, I'm useless with money half the time.
So, Greg, are you a financial advisor? Just real quick, just to find out.
I am authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority, but I am not a financial advisor. No.
Just making sure.
But I think it could double or more. Whether it will, just the fact I think it could, probably won't now. I don't think it's ever going to reach as much as like 100 grand or something like that. That just it's already a ridiculous amount anyway. But I certainly think for people that have it now, keep it for now. Then once it hits in 2018 or 2019, maybe is when it's going to hit its peak. I don't think keeping it past 2020 is going to be a good idea.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah,
there you go.
So this is my predictions. They're probably all going to be wrong.
Yep,
because
definitely.
one, when is what I say correct anyway? Two, frankly, I'm really not educated to say with any certainty. Three, it's Snappy-Tech podcast. So when do we say something that's actually correct or smart?
Yeah.
So
no. Okay. Two things and then we're done. First, because one I found just now. This is going to be a really quick one. First of all, text messages. The first ever text message was sent 25 years ago today. Happy birthday to the text message world. Isn't it great? No, it's not. No one sends text messages anymore. We all use Facebook Messenger now and WhatsApp. Get over it. Secondly...
I sent texts.
I had to send a text to somebody that uses Android the other day, and it had a green bubble. I was like... Ugh.
I use Facebook Messenger for my text because you can set it as like the default SMS app, and you can set the color for per contact. And if there's someone who I know uses an iOS device, I set their color to green just to annoy them. Right. Lastly, if you saw me tweeting earlier today, you'll know that Greg wrote a wonderful blog post which I read and was like, he's critical about Apple. This is rare. Let's include this.
Hey, I do this quite often.
No, to be fair.
Not often enough.
Yeah, this should be literally every day. There should be a new criticism, Greg.
Right, okay. Well, there was one today. There was one on the 29th of November. There was one on the 26th of November. There was one on the 22nd of November.
It's practically every 3 days at this point.
There was one on the 14th of November. There was quite a few before the iPhone 10 came out that were critical. Yeah, I think it's very balanced myself, but I'm still a fanboy, goddammit.
So, Greg, you transitioned to iOS for the... I feel like simplicity isn't the word I'm looking for, but it's more sort of the ecosystem, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
It's safe to say that since you've moved over, there have been cracks forming. Maybe it's just because you moved over. Who knows?
Maybe.
There's no proof.
They're just like,
there's no proof otherwise.
Screw that guy in particular.
And so with these cracks forming, and it's quite hard to deny that iOS 11 is not the most broken iOS ever released. And everyone is hoping for a massive overhaul come iOS 12.
Yep.
What's your experience with it?
The experience up until now has been great. And as mentioned on the podcast last week, when we were talking about you, I was like, George tweeted like, "Oh, Greg isn't going to be very happy about this," and my initial thought, right, the fucking software, it's nothing to do with me, but it's getting increasingly hard to stomach as an iPhone user. Do you know what I mean? And I know Android users are probably used to bugs. I mean, you've had them for like years, so it must be kind of a learning curve for us. But I struggle to understand how these sort of glaring things. We're not talking about rotation bugs or your notification takes 30 seconds more to come through to your phone. You're talking about like a root shell that can get access to your Mac, which is not as serious as it sounds, because someone has to be sat in front of your Mac, so they can probably attain that anyway. But there's also a bug where your phone constantly reboots on a specific date that they blatantly knew about because the fix was pushed like hours before, just because of local notifications. And they haven't plagued me yet. But if they do, and if I was one of those users that relied on my phone like I do for my work, and I can't make a phone call because Apple have left a bug in that they knew about, I'm going to start looking for the exit door. Do you know what I mean? And this is exactly what we spoke to before when Paul asked me what it would take. You have to take these things as an iOS user. You have to, or dictated to by Apple, as to how you can use your device and what you can do and what you can't do. And it doesn't take very long for them to start making these decisions that are either poor decisions or they're compromises in some way, and they start affecting you using your devices where people just go, do you know what, I've had enough.
My other question to you, I guess, is, because, it being an issue when you're making a business call, sure, it's an inconvenience, but it's not like that big a deal, right?
No, I mean, no one's going to die, let's be honest, but it's
however,
it's an annoyance.
On the subject of death, unfortunately, right? Heaven forbid this happens after you're in an accident, right?
Yeah.
Something happens, you need to make a phone call or send someone a text message, and then your phone randomly reboots.
Yeah, I mean, these sorts of things are unacceptable. I mean, OnePlus had a similar thing, didn't they? And I think it plagued some Samsung devices where people were trying to dial 911 and it was just rebooting because of this advanced emergency system or something that they use. But you're exactly right. People rely on their devices so much now to do things like contacting people when they've had accidents and stuff like that. They have these devices in their pockets, and you have equipment that you should be able to rely on, and it should be secure for you to use when you need it, and it doesn't. And they seem like sort of basic things. I mean, there was also an issue with disk utility where you could, in the password prompt, it basically gave you the encryption password. And when I spoke to Guy on our podcast, he was saying, I think it goes like they give the interns these things to do. And I was just like, you can't. These are basic things, do you know what I mean? And the issues like this should not be happening.
Yeah, and I think this is something that usually Apple are pretty good with. They don't release something until it's ready. I can hate on Apple all I want, which is a lot. But generally, they don't release something for the sake of releasing something, generally. So it's similar to what we said about the HomePod and stuff. It kind of seems like they're just they're not being Apple at the moment.
No.
You wonder what is going on inside the company that's suddenly making them do all of these poor decisions, because they're perfectionists, for want of a better word. They don't release things that are not finished. So to make such simple errors is it's not Apple.
No, it's not. I completely agree. I mean, there's been a few things said, and things like, oh, it would have never happened under Steve Jobs, gets banded about like nobody's business. But I mean, I posed a question in my blog post. It's starting to resemble Microsoft when they were completely lost. they don't seem to have any sort of clear leadership, if you like, and that doesn't necessarily come from the CEO, but it comes from however you want to do it, managers, presidents, vice presidents, and stuff inside the company to make sure these sorts of things don't happen. And the larger and larger Apple gets, it seems like these things crop up more and more and more. And I think perhaps they're getting very complacent with the idea that they know what people want, and they've made compromises with obviously the MacBook Pro hardware, with the iPhone 10, which are starting to really show this kind of, I suppose, arrogance. Do you know what I mean? It like you say, they're pushing out things that blatantly aren't ready.
Yes, that is actually one of the main things that annoy me about Apple is just how arrogant they seem as a company. They know they can get away with things that other companies do, and rather than try and make a way around having to do some of the compromises, they're just like, you know what, we can sell this anyway. Just go ahead and do it. It showed a bit with the headphone jack. I think more so the sudden transition to USB-C. Kind of not the knowing we're Apple, we can get away with this, and that really does actually grind away at me with them. Just, they rely on that at times, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, they do. And obviously they're beholden to people buying their devices, and it's not about selling tens of millions of devices. It's about them going, well, where's the next users going to come from? Where's the growth coming from that Wall Street dictate? Where's everything else coming from? And obviously we've seen this line of devices. Steve Jobs once said, everything that we sell can fit on a small table. And now they sell like they sell like the 6S, the 7, the 8, and the iPhone 10 and the SE, as well.
Yeah, don't
they
forget
sell
the
like
SE.
3 different sizes in iPad. 2 different MacBooks.
4 actually, because the iPad they have the mini, the 9.7 and the 2 Pros.
Yeah, so 4 different sizes of iPad.
That 9.7 and the Pro and the 10.5 inch are just so. It's basically an internal spec upgrade. It's slightly confusing.
It's the display as well, and the speakers, and the smart connector.
It's kind of
a few things, to be fair.
It's kind of like having, rather than having a Pro model, it's having a cheap model.
Well, that is literally what it is.
And to be honest, of all the things that has actually worked, because the iPad sales are growing again now, and they've kind of streamlined the thingy, because obviously they had the Air 2 hanging around and all sorts of things and bits and pieces like that. But obviously the point is, they're always asking for growth, and when you're selling tens of millions of devices, you're constantly striving for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and they just don't seem happy with what they've got. Yeah,
I've actually, because I'm going through the Apple site now, just going to each of the different ones, even their watch. All like the headings of things you can still buy. So you've got the Series 3, the Nike, the Hermes, the Apple Watch Edition, and the Series 1. 5 different watch series that you can buy still right now. And it's confusing, frankly.
Especially when we don't have clear names. Like, that's the thing that really got me. You know, when they released the new iPad and they called it the new iPad, you know, if you went into a shop and you're like, oh yeah, give me an iPad, they'd be like, okay, which one? And you'd be like, the new one. And then they'd be like, do you want the big one or the small one, right? Or and you'd have to, like, you know, there's a whole, they don't have
the
a
expensive
clear
big one, or
yeah, the expensive big one or the expensive small one, or do you want the cheap big one? Like, you know. And there's a really good article on Business Insider by Jay Yarrow, something like that. This is from like 2009. This is an old article. And if I recall correctly, it's called like Curse of the New Headquarters. And the article is about, if you see a tech company building a new headquarters, like that is the moment that all hell breaks loose. Because that is usually the beginning of the end as such.
Right.
Because you end up in this situation where the company is, they've defined themselves as the biggest at whatever and the best at whatever, and look at our massive, beautiful headquarters to prove it. And the last time this really happened was Yahoo, which is what the article is originally about back in 2009, where Yahoo were moving into their new headquarters because in 2009 they were top of the internet. Well, even then they were kind of slowly trending downwards.
Still behind Google.
Yeah, they were in a much better position than they're in now. And
frankly, Snappy-Tech are in a better position than Yahoo are now.
Unfortunately not, because Yahoo is still the Yahoo homepage is like the 4th most visited web page in the world or something. Which is ridiculous.
What is wrong with people?
It's a default homepage for a lot of people.
It's a lot of old.
That
people.
is true. I think they pay a lot of money to a lot of people.
But they built this massive headquarters and moved in. They were like, look at how awesome we are with these newly super duper headquarters. And then they just lost their way. And I think Apple are gonna end up in a very similar situation
as well. Okay, yeah, it's back.
I'm
I think it's froze.
Did
I'm gonna find Yahoo on Wikipedia, see if it's got their revenue is $1.3 billion apparently.
They've got assets in Alibaba and stuff. So
they own
very,
like 40%
very
of Alibaba.
I think at one stage they were losing around about $4 billion a year, but it was completely masked by everything else.
So currently, they're worth roughly 32. Is that? You speak, and I'm gonna go back to. I'm gonna actually read this and find out where the 15% stake in Alibaba Yahoo own.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a lot smaller.
Also owns only 35.5% of Yahoo Japan, which is worth 10 billion on its own.
And even then, they were then sold off to a group of Chinese investors, right? After their massive security mishaps in the last couple of years. However, it's that sad point in time.
And they still have Tumblr.
Oh no, they don't actually. Verizon bought them.
They did. Yeah, you're right.
Yes,
Yeah.
Verizon bought them about a year ago. Actually, the reason I'm aware of this is because it was on Reddit a couple of days ago. Because it turns out they've been deleting any posts to do with net neutrality off of Tumblr.
No, there's a surprise.
They've been quietly deleting.
You do find me shocked.
Okay, so this is a couple of years old. So it's 2015. It's December 2015 now. At the time, Alibaba and Yahoo Japan were worth 41 billion to them. Yet Yahoo's market cap, whatever. So Yahoo's worth at the time was 33 billion because they had negative 8 billion worth to the Yahoo core businesses. it was worth that little that it was minus 8 billion to them.
That is crazy.
Don't put an exclamation mark on the end of your company name, folks.
Yep. And then are you guys aware of the little Easter egg? That if you clicked the dot on the exclamation mark, it would make a Yahoo noise on Yahoo.com. I'm not sure if it still does it, but it used to.
Bring back Ask Jeeves.
Oh man, it's now Ask.com, which is nowhere near as fun. No, it doesn't exist anymore. If you used to press the little dot on the exclamation mark, it'd make a Yahoo yodeling noise. So it is with deep regret that I have to call an end to this show. We've been live for almost 2 hours. We spoke about tech for 20 minutes. I guess that's good enough.
Snappy Toolkit it was.
Oh man. It was a great episode, which somehow ended up with Greg on as well, which is great. I'm not complaining. Any show with Greg is a great show. Any show with Paul is a show with Paul, I guess. So
I'm just gonna listen to your introduction to me over and over again because that was nice. So
Paul, where's the best place to find you? Is it smpy.tech/Paul by any chance?
So the easiest place to find me is in the deep pit of despair. But failing that, if you want to find me on Twitter, where I'm actually active and do post bits, and if anyone wants to speak to me, they can get me quite easily there at smpy.tech/Paul, and there's a little button you can press, and it takes you to my Twitter, and it's all magical pixie tricks, but go there.
So I feel like we should set these up for Greg at some point. It's 1 a.m. here. I'm tired. Okay, just shut up. It's been a difficult day. We should probably set one of these up for Greg as well. You know, the short link smpy.tech/Greg. We'll set that up later though. So for the time being, Greg, where should the people of the wonderful internet go if they want to find out more?
They should head to this wonderful website called Twitter. I don't know whether you guys have heard of it.
No, honestly.
It's fantastic. And my username on there is @gr36. That's where I post all of my crap. So just go there. You'll find some podcasts and some blog post and some arguing with Paul. So yeah, just
that makes Twitter worth it, like on its own. Like,
so if you prefer Android over iOS, make sure to go and tweet that at gr36.
Yeah, at gr36, tweet at me. You suck. Android wins.
If you prefer iOS,
then he knows who to block.
Go away. No one cares.
And then just come up with a suitable alternative for I need to replace my iPhone 10, my iPad, and my iMac and my MacBook Pro. So if you can find all of those things in the Android universe, then you win.
What about Windows Phone? and Surface laptops.
Man, at that point, thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this as much as we did.
Not a tech show.
It was, oh man, it was a bumpy ride. Let's call it that. If you want to join us next week, do that. It's smpy.tech/live. We are live at 7 p.m. GMT, which is 11 p.m. Georgian time, as I come into this, because I make reasonable life decisions. I need to be back here at 9 a.m. tomorrow. That's right, because I have real work to do as well.
Financial advice.
I'm actually just going to lie down right here and sleep for the next 8 hours. I'm not going anywhere. /live for the podcast for the audio version, /iTunes if you own an Apple device, /Twitter, /YouTube, /Facebook for all the social medias. Go check those out. However, we will see you next week. Don't forget /TalkYT for the Snappy Talk podcast, which is on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. primarily with Emily, talking about basically what we talked about in this podcast, just random stuff. We will see you at some point next week. Bye.